Tech Heads finally back after a much needed break. On this week's episode of Tech Heads, which was recorded back in June, we talk about tech stacks, moving, WWDC 21, Twitter clones, and so much more. This is Tech Heads, and it feels so good to be back.
4, 3, 2, 1. So, here we go.
How you all feel tonight?
That's enough. Tech Heads back again. We're here. We're chilling. It's summer, baby.
It's Pride Month.
It's Pride Month. It's actually it's not even June in Portland. It's actually January right now. That's what I've been hearing people say. I didn't realize that was a thing, but last month for us it was a little hotter than a normal sort of day in May, I think. But it was like in the 90s for almost a week and just clear skies, sunny, and that's pretty brutal when you don't have AC like me. But this past week has been like in the 50s and rainy, and it's June.
What?
So I guess that's pretty common every year towards like the beginning, middle of June. So they coined the term January because it's a lot like January weather.
That's
so it
cool.
cooled off. But today it's sunny and it's a little cool and it feels awesome. So I'm happy to be here today.
That's awesome. I wish I could say the same. Definitely not the case in Florida. Hot and humid as always. You have to. I burned myself getting into the car the other day because I think I was going to like buckle my seatbelt and the metal part touched my skin, and it was like 100 plus inside the car, so it was really hot. But
oh god,
yeah, it's been very, very hot. At least we're getting some rain, so that kind of eases things up a bit. But
yeah, I totally forgot about hot cars. Like obviously cars get hot here and stuff, but it's like a different hot.
right,
It's not as brutal and intense, I think.
Yeah.
It just
that can
just a
kill
little more
someone
chillier,
in
I
like
guess.
20 minutes of sitting in a hot car. Like that's craziness.
Quickest way to commit murder in Florida. Just
Yeah.
leave them in the car.
Leave them in the car, man. Yeah, it's been, I don't know, probably another, like a hot summer ahead. But it's also good to go out and do things out there. I really wish I had a nice backyard with a pool. I'll probably be spending all my whole summer just in the backyard, hanging out, grilling, and having fun. But yeah, maybe one day.
I hope so for you. That sounds like a dream.
Yeah, right.
Too bad houses here are like $750 million for a studio-sized house. It's ridiculous.
Well, the housing market has been bad. I don't know if like everywhere, but from the people that I've talked to at work, it's been insane here. Like there's just no inventory. It's very much a seller's market because the people who list their homes usually get over ask, and their homes are sold in like days, or if not within the same day. And I've heard of like stories that a friend of a friend sold a house, but then he made a huge profit, but then he couldn't find another house to buy, so he was probably like having to stay in an Airbnb for however long until he can actually buy another house because it's been so bad. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna wait and see how this plays out.
Oh yeah, who knows what'll happen. But I am stoked that my new place is gonna have AC. That is gonna be a game changer for the summer, because all year round you don't really need it at all.
Yeah,
I find myself like with the heater on a lot anyway. But oh my god, it's gonna be an absolute necessity.
yeah, I bet.
It's gonna be nice. And we're also having people like come out from Florida to stay with us, just throughout July and August. So
Yeah.
you don't want to put them in like through that
Right.
that heat sleep situation because the night sweats.
Mm,
Ugh, absolutely brutal.
yeah.
So it's gonna be really nice, and we can throw them in the deprivation tank if they get a little too hot. So that'll be fun too.
Oh my God, I forgot that you told me. When are you guys moving? Is that coming up?
2 weeks.
Woohoo! Look at that.
2 weeks. Haven't even started packing.
Yeah. Well, that's always the worst part, right?
Ugh, yeah, it's gonna be pretty easy. I think we
Mm-hmm.
have a few people helping us out, which will be
Oh,
nice,
that's
and
awesome.
then the rest of it, other than like a couch, bed, desk, like that big items, the rest of it, it's gonna be like pretty easy. Just a bunch of boxes of knickknacks and books and dog equipment and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, I
Yeah.
wish. It sounds like it's not gonna be too bad for you guys. You know, help is always welcome because then you can just get it done quicker. But we're gonna have to hire a service with all the furniture that we have now, you know, to fill like a 2 bedroom apartment for just 2 people. Like our, you know, we have things everywhere. And furniture is always the hard part. Like last year when we moved into this apartment, we had a friend that helped. So it was like 3 people doing the move, but we were moving just from, you know, one apartment in this place to a bigger one within the same complex. So it wasn't awful, but now we're moving well, like 10, 12 miles away. And I feel like my back can't take it. So I'm just gonna have to hire some, you know, like we're just gonna have to hire someone and or like a service and just have
Oh yeah.
them do the heavy stuff, and then we can, you know, do a couple of like car trips for the smaller stuff because we have an overlap between the 2 places anyway, so it shouldn't be too
Yeah. Same
bad.
here. Yeah, that would be worth it for sure. I
Yeah.
thought about that because I didn't think anybody. I also didn't see like us being able to hang out with other people coming anytime soon. So I
Right.
just was like, okay, it's gonna be me and you again, Dylan, just doing this.
Mm-hmm.
But we're actually able to hang out with our friends and not feel too bad about it because we're all vaxxed up and
Good.
got the chips in our
Yeah,
brains.
right.
Everybody can track us with the satellites, and so since that's a thing now, it's really nice that we can actually just hang out with other people.
Right, exactly. I don't,
And one of our friends was like, "Oh, you're moving? Like I'm moving that weekend too. Let's just like have a moving party." I was like, "Dope, let's do it." So it's gonna be really nice because when we moved out here, it was just us two,
hmm
and packed up the car,
Right.
and then hauled the big stuff up when we got it. But I don't know, uh,
Yeah, but you
not really good on the body.
but I was gonna say, you know, you guys are good people. I'm sure I was 100% sure that you would make friends like in no time, you know. When you're friendly and like nice, like you guys, it's easy to be friends with, you know. So you just like you kind of like captivate people. So that's a good thing. Yeah.
Oh, please. We only make friends with like people that work at restaurants and stuff. There's been a few occasions where we just like talk it up with the bartender or our waiter or waitress or whoever,
Yeah.
and they're just like, "Do you want to hang out?" Because I think everybody's really hungry to just like hang out with people.
Yeah, of course.
So it's been like kind of really nice because everybody does want to be with each other again and do
Right.
fun things outside and whatnot.
Hmm.
But we also have Dylan's coworkers and stuff. My coworkers are all virtual, so I don't really do too much outside of work with them.
Yeah.
But maybe when we're all back in the office, who knows?
Right.
But yeah, it's
Yeah.
been cool.
I got some news this week about what we can foresee happening, you know, like at our company.
Ooh.
Because it looks like at the beginning of July is going to be the kind of like return to office. I don't know, you know, trial or whatever. Not, I mean, they're just going to start bringing some people that have been working from home 100%, you know, back to the office for like a couple of days. I'm hoping because, yeah, you know, yesterday I had a team call with my department, and as IT, I don't think that there is a single person working from the office every day of the week. So,
Hmm.
you know, we are. I'm kind of hoping that my schedule doesn't change, which would be very, very nice. I'm loving the, just going into the office Monday and Tuesday and then the rest of the week from home. It helps a lot, with just like fatigue in general, not having to commute to like for an hour plus, and especially now that it's hotter, I feel like you get even more tired. But
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Just walking through a hot oven of a parking lot
yeah.
is enough, like, a brutal situation for me to be like, I want to be done with everything for the rest of the day.
Right, exactly. And yeah, I mean, there's some changes going on in our department, so we'll see, what that has in store for everybody, really. Because there could be like some shuffling, and especially when it happens at like manager level, like those things can trickle down into the people in the trenches or whatever. But we'll see.
Do I smell a leadership role coming up for you soon?
No, 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 not yet. I wouldn't even want that kind of responsibility right now. I don't think I can handle it. But yeah, well, maybe after a while in the company, getting more, I think, exposure to what we do and
Sure.
understanding all of the challenges from every angle. I think that that's like the tricky part. But yeah, we'll see. One day it might happen, but for now, I think I'm okay where I am.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Same page here. I feel like I'm not even. Obviously, I've only been there for a few months, but I don't even see myself like being at this level where I understand our full operations and like the development cycle of all of our technologies and whatnot.
Yeah.
Because I play like the front end sort of role and everything,
Hmm.
and we just have so much SaaS products that like it's hard to even understand how they all play into one another.
Right.
So I really do want to sit down with people from different teams and departments and just like
Hmm.
see how it all plays with one another. But um, yeah, for now I'm just sticking with what I'm doing at the company, not trying to be too adventurous and branch out. Um, but my company did have a hackathon like a week or two ago. It started, I think,
Oh, that's
and maybe it's
awesome.
still going on. But it's really nice because it's like it's encouraging to like get with another team member, or, people maybe in a different department, and like just see what you can build that will either just make work easier for everybody,
Yeah.
or it'll just be like something cool to show off what skills you have and stuff. So
Hmm.
I didn't participate just because I'm so new and I don't think I could do anything too crazy just yet.
Yeah.
But maybe next hackathon, I'll jump in and see what people want to do.
Gotcha. Oh, that's so cool though. I have never been a part of a hackathon, and that's something that is so recommended. I probably should have, by now, but I just feel like I don't know, with between school, work, and just like regular life, it's so hard to like squeeze something
Podcasting.
else in. Yeah, right. Like I was just, even earlier this morning, I was doing some like chores around the house, and I was trying to fix my bike. And I was like, yeah, there are so many things that I've like neglected doing because I just get in like a one track mind with, work and school. It's always one or the other, that there are things that I've totally forgotten that I have or that I used to do that, I can't wait to go back to after I have the free time, because it's going to be like, I feel like for me, it's going to be so much free time after I graduate. But
Hmm.
I'm so excited, so much looking forward to it, because it's just, like doing other fun stuff in comparison to homework and projects all the time.
Yeah, that's gonna be crazy. That means you're gonna be able to take over with the whole everything for the podcast, right?
Yeah. If you
You can
want, we
spend
can do other fun stuff in addition to.
guys get ready for a major upgrade when she graduates.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I don't want to be
um,
bored, so we can work on doing other cool things.
I'm gonna slack you on like a Friday evening as usual and be like, hey, so I'm still thinking about what we should do. And you'd be like, oh, I've planned the next 4 episodes already completely. So you're good to go.
I have my workflow chart about how we're going to scale this business. I have a 3-year plan.
A whole marketing scheme and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, there are like things that I would like to do that I feel like I've been putting off for now. But this is definitely one thing
Mhm.
that will, move up in my priority list because I won't have to worry about, school, which right now has been, taking up the most time aside from
Yeah. I mean, it's like
regular
another
work.
full-time job.
It really is. I feel like sometimes it's more stressful than my job.
Wow.
Because it's keeping up with lectures, it's coordinating with like your teams, because most of the classes now towards the end are just project long courses. So you start a project in the beginning, and then you have to have like a deliverable, like a production application that you need to turn in at the end of the term. So it's like coordinating meetings and actually doing the project. So it really is like a full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's just this past week I'm taking a Python class, and I think I told you about building that calculator a couple of weeks
Mm-hmm.
back, and that was a breeze. It was not bad at all. It was actually fun. But then this past week we had a different one that I kind of got a little like flustered by. And luckily, another student in the class helped me out. Mike, who I'm taking the class with, he came through. He's a genius. And
Friend
he
of the show.
friend of the show. And he's the one that kind of helped me out to figure it out, and then I had to turn that in yesterday. But yeah, a lot of programming now, and it's challenging at times. I feel like it's such like an up and down kind of life, like you get that low feeling of, oh my gosh, I'm so stupid, I'll never get this, to okay, figure this thing out, to turned in, I am a genius, like
Yep.
I beat myself up over it all the time, but it is what it is. It's part of it. I think that the anticipation of like having all this work to do is what gives me a bit of anxiety, and I will not miss that once this is all done. Because you have other kinds of deadlines with like work and like the running the
Mm-hmm.
podcast and that kind of stuff, but with school, it's a different kind of anxiety, which it's so hard. Sometimes it's paralyzing. And I can't, I can't wait to cut that off, because I just feel like it takes a toll on other areas of life as well. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's coming up soon, and then you're gonna be free.
I know.
Well, with that, why don't we get into tech stacks?
Let's do it.
Yeah, I don't know if I mentioned, but we're talking about tech stacks, so let's do it. So I think the first time I heard the term tech stack was in the boot camp, as usual, and the way our instructor put it, he basically just he presented it as just like this way of saying like, oh, you could say what's your tech stack, or you could say the equivalent, which would be like, oh, what kind of stuff do you work with at work, or like what tools do you use, stuff like that. So what is a tech stack, you might ask? So all websites, mobile apps, and web apps were built with a set of tools, programming languages, and other tech that made it. And you can refer to that as the tech stack. It's literally just how something was built in both the front end and back end aspects of it. And of course, the front end would be just the client serving, so the client side, or user facing, you could also say, if you want to think about it that way. So it's just everything that the user is interacting with, buttons, text, animations, all that stuff. But then there's also the back end side of the stack, which is server side, stuff that you don't see, and is not visible to the user. Well, I guess it is. But you know what I mean. The way it works is that it's not visible to the user, but you see things populate because of the backend. But anyway, there are of course different tech stacks out there available for developers to choose from based on whatever project that they're working on, because not all stacks are created equally, which is really nice because that gives us flexibility.
Right.
So, for example, some stacks are more suitable for, let's say, you're building like an e-commerce site of some kind, while others would be more geared towards like a social media app that you might be building or working on. And often there's a whole team involved in this stack. You would have your front end people, your back end people, and this is simply just to delegate tasks easier, make everybody's lives a little less stressful if it's a bigger thing, and also just because not everybody who develops is a full stack developer, so they don't have a full knowledge base of every aspect of what it takes to build an app. So luckily, we can delegate tasks to other people based on each layer of the stack. There are also frameworks for backend, which we'll get into, because the front end, you might use a framework or library to make your life easier as well. So it's really built on a lot of technologies that are aimed to make everybody's lives easier.
Right.
And typically, stacks are acronyms, which consist of the tech that is most emphasized in building the app, because usually it's 4 letters, but that doesn't mean that it's only those 4 things that you used to build the app. And let's see, for example, we could use the MEAN stack, MEAN, and it's usually in all caps if you ever see it. The M would be MongoDB, E is Express.js, A is Angular, and N is Node.js. But, maybe we'll do a whole episode looking at each individual thing, but we'll briefly kind of touch on exactly what these things do and how they play into the whole app. But so with MEAN, Mongo, E Express, A Angular, and Node. But let's say you don't like Angular and you want to use React. You could just say that it's a MERN stack. You just replace the A with an R. It's really that simple. And then also, if you're not a React or Angular guy, you could just say Mevin and change the R to a V to use Vue.js. And that's essential. That's like the basic idea of what a stack is. I know Anna has a few other examples that she probably is a little more comfortable defining. So take it away, Anna.
Yeah, so I think it would be, good to point out that LAMP stack. I think that's a more of a mature one. And LAMP stands for Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP. And it is a bit familiar to me. I'm still learning it because I had to deploy a simple site at work, but obviously to make it, to deploy a site without having to host it somewhere, we decided to drop our files into a box, a VM box, through our, provider. And it was as simple as uploading the files that we had, like our index.html, style CSS, and our app.js, and we uploaded that to the box, and it had already, an HTML folder in there, which rendered the website. Essentially, I wouldn't call it compile, but it essentially just, reads the files, in the order that they're supposed to, and it already, gives you an external IP address that you can access the, the files that you just uploaded. So it was super simple. That's that's why I'm a bit familiar with LAMP, is for that reason. But it's because it's Linux, it is a different operating system. But I have to say, I took a pen test class. I think I told you about it last year, and man, that class has come through. It's definitely the one class, aside from other programming courses in combination, that I've used the most, because that class.
Wow, really?
Yeah. I not for like what you would think, like the actual, spoofing tools or exploit tools, that kind of stuff. I don't do that at work, but knowing how to RDP, like remote desktop into a server, or how to operate, like the Linux command line or Linux terminal. That
Whatever they
those
call it.
right, yeah, those kinds of things. It really helped, and it's made me feel so much more comfortable because I have been using Mac for the longest time, and then I had to start using Windows. So that class helped out a lot. But yeah, that's how I we deployed our instance, our VM instances using the LAMP stack, because it's a very simple, lightweight, and static site that we didn't really need anything more complicated than that. Now, another type of a stack that you may use is serverless. So serverless stacks, basically it happens when a cloud provider allocates the resources on demand. So they take care of like the service usage that you may need instead of you having to do it. And then two examples of those would be Google App Engine and AWS Lambda. I haven't worked with any of them. I think I briefly looked into Google App Engine because we do Google everything at work. So it might be something that I'll explore in the future to see if there's a use case for it at work. But yeah, those were the two examples that I mainly looked into. And yeah, another point to the benefits of serverless stacks is that they allow you to scale up and down based on demand and traffic of that you may have on your site. So it's not like you purchase, like this, like a plan with a data center or whatever, and you have to, you pay more than you might end up using. It just scales with your demand for that, or with the traffic that you may get to that site. So it can also be good because it may improve, the performance of your site, because then the servers are allocating the right resources, or they're distributing the load between multiple servers, so the performance is even, and you don't have those like pitfalls, because too many people are hitting your site. So that's something with like a lot of cloud based companies that they do consider nowadays for that benefit. So I think that it's very interesting.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, I don't have any personal experience with LAMP. I've seen a few walkthroughs of people using it to build, just how they would build some sort of app, or basically cloning it.
Right.
And it looks faster than how you might use, like the average developer might utilize a mean stack or MERN stack, whatever.
Right.
It looks really useful, but I am just not a PHP guy.
Right.
I've only used it a handful of times, and all I did was like change some code in it. I don't really understand it. It looks like super advanced, ugly, like JavaScript, and I don't know. I would like to get more familiar with it eventually, because it is really, really important.
Yeah, same. I think to point out the mean and MERN and Maven stacks, they all have, the either Angular, React, or Vue as the frameworks, but for LAMP, there isn't that. So it's a bit different, because you have Linux, which is the operating system, just like, there's Windows, there's Mac OS, it's a different operating system altogether. And then you have your Apache server, and your MySQL as a database, and then PHP, but there isn't like a front end framework like the other ones. So, I think it's a bit different. So I wonder, because like in our case, when I transferred the files that we had locally for our site, it was very easy to drop them in the, whatever folder that we have to. And then you just went to the IP address that the instance was giving us, and there you go. It's right there. It read the index.html file, which called the style.css and the app.js. So it was pretty straightforward from my point of view, but that makes me think, okay, can you have a framework in a LAMP stack, or does everything have to be custom, in HTML and CSS and JavaScript? So I'm not entirely sure about that. maybe we can revisit this. That would probably be a good question.
Well, this is something that comes up all the time in the topic of web development and software engineering, and it's just super important to figure out what stack you're going to utilize, or like, you can make your own stack. Like, there's no rules
Yeah.
with this stuff. So this stuff is going to keep coming up, just because I'm sure in the near future we'll be talking about like a project that we're working on and like what the stack is that we're utilizing. And yeah, this stuff just doesn't go away. So we're going to always be kind of mentioning different stacks and whatnot throughout the show, I'm sure. And the stuff that we did cover just now, I should emphasize that that's mostly in regards to web-based apps. Like, you're building a web app like Airbnb or Twitter or Facebook, those sorts of things. But then all of those examples that I just listed, they also have mobile apps, which involves a bit of a different sort of development process. It's different than making something mobile friendly, because that implies that you're opening the web app in a browser on your phone.
Right.
So with building an app for a mobile device, there's quite a bit that kind of goes into it. Of course, we have to look at the fact that there's different phones out there and different operating systems. And then there's apps that are only for one.
Yeah.
Like only for iOS or only for Android, so they had to build two different apps to accommodate for them. Or you have hybrid, which is where they can work on either or. So with native development, that would be what I just mentioned before. It's when it's built for a specific platform, so it's either for iOS or for Android. And with Android, the programming language of choice is usually between Kotlin and Java.
Oh.
And yeah, so Google prefers Kotlin now for Android app development, and it's apparently better because there's just less code to type, which is really nice, and it's easier to test and maintain. I think the syntax is a little nicer too. So that's one option for sure. And along with these programming languages, you need some tools to actually get that app out there. So you would have to utilize something like Android Developer Tools and Android Studio, which all of these include APIs, libraries, debuggers, emulators, so that you can test on multiple sized screens and devices and whatnot. It also includes sample projects, so you could just like be somebody who's never done this before and just start playing around in there.
Yeah.
And then for iOS, it's the same sort of story, but you have to choose between Objective-C and Swift. And Swift is a little newer.
Yeah.
It's a little different though, because Objective-C is like a strict superset of the C language, and devs use it if they need to support an already existing project usually. But as far as new development goes, I think Swift is a little more trendy and cute right now. So
Yeah. Right.
it was created to even replace C, so that was kind of the goal anyway.
Yeah. Well, I think
to replace C-based languages at least, and it's considered faster and more efficient.
right, because I think Swift is developed by Apple and Objective-C is from Microsoft, right? So
Right, that's true. Yeah.
so I think that Apple, they probably developed something that would work in tandem with their platforms or their hardware that they already have.
Yeah.
Hardware and software, obviously. Just like I feel like they're doing now with all those processors. They're kind of like, oh, we do this. How can we develop the tools to do what we already do even better? So, I think it makes sense. But I've never, I've heard some comments that, and I guess it depends on the developer, that Swift is like a very eloquent, like a refined language. But I've never personally used it. I've never developed anything mobile, to be honest. Everything has been just, web apps. And then, like you said, you handle the mobile responsiveness, that you want to to make your app look good on the phone or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Same here. And then with the toolkit for iOS development, we have IntelliJ, which is, I think, like an IDE.
It
Because we
is.
also have Xcode, which is also an IDE.
Mhm.
But on top of I think you can choose between the two, if I'm not mistaken. Like, I don't think you need to use both, since they're both IDEs, which is just the environment where you code.
Yeah, right. Well, I was gonna say, you know how you mentioned that the Android uses Java or Kotlin. Kotlin was developed by JetBrains, which developed IntelliJ, like IntelliJ, PyCharm, Sea Lion. You know that whole
Did
suite
not
of
know that.
IDEs. Yeah, yeah. And I love their IDEs. They can get your fan going, but they're cool. I use them all the time.
Good to know. I'll have to check it out then. Um, so along with whatever IDE you're going to use for actually doing mobile development, you also need the iOS SDK, which consists of the Xcode IDE, instruments, iPhone simulator, frameworks, APIs, and more. It's the same idea as Android development. It's just slightly different languages and technologies, but the idea is the same. But then we also have hybrid app development, which is I don't know. It's really weird because it can save you a lot of time, but it can also make your life a lot harder.
Mhm.
But the idea is that if you're comfortable doing it, it allows you to just build one app that will work on everything,
Right.
because it allows you to utilize standard web tech like HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So if you're comfortable with that, maybe hop on some hybrid app development projects. And you can also turn to programming frameworks with this, like Apache Cordova, Ionic, stuff like that. Where Apache Cordova, I guess it's pretty dope because it actually embeds code into a native wrapper that can access the phone's functions, like it's how you can reach like camera, the GPS, the contacts in your phone, stuff like that. So I guess that's really convenient for that. And then it does all that to create like this native shell application, which is really really sick. And Ionic is another SDK that allows you to create cross-platform apps and integrate them with multiple front-end frameworks, like the ones we talked about earlier, like React, Vue, Angular, stuff like that. So it's really convenient if you're strong in that world of development. But now you want to take on mobile development, so that might be the way to go. But if you're curious about learning other technologies, then maybe go the route of doing native sort of development.
Right. Yeah, I think it's interesting because we're talking about tech stacks, but that's such a broad term because, like you
Yeah.
said, it's you can be, let's say, like a native iOS developer for, I don't know, like a React native, or it's just, you can get very niche about it. If you
Hmm.
choose to go down like that route, like there's so many things, there's so many directions or paths that you can take. And Yeah, I personally like doing, full stack web work, but I've been leaning more towards, server side applications and languages and like
Hmm.
learning that kind of stuff. It can get very complicated, but yeah, because you start to get into like, network uh you start to get into like, network complications, or topics, like traffic and SSL and encryption and servers and all that stuff, APIs, and it's just, it's a lot. But yeah, I think I mean, a good project right off the bat, like as a newbie, would be probably to, try and build like a simple little stack app using, I don't know, like Mern or Mean or whatever. and seeing
Hmm.
how you like it. One of the projects that I did earlier on in the year, we chose our stack to be Python, so Django and React. In our so it was Django as the server side. So Python. I don't even know if there was an acronym for it, but Django on the back end, React on the front end, our SQLite database,
Mm.
and I think that was it.
Mm. Not a
Yeah,
catchy acronym so far.
no, not easy to come up with that one, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's good practice to kind of see what you can build. These things can get very complex, but it's very cool to build a single page app, and get that going and have your little database on there. It's essentially where the industry is going. I mean, that's what I was talking to one of my managers about, because I'm a developer at my company, so I'm kind of trying to start things that haven't been done before, and trying to make like a push for them to modernize. And it's been very welcome so far. The feedback has been good. Like for this one tool that we built, it was very simple, or it's a static site, but I told them, I was like, maybe we should explore ways to create a single page app, or use like a robust stack for things that will be able to like integrate other ideas, other topics, and sub-services within that app, instead of just having like a password reset portal. Like we can make it into a full-on app that we use internally, but using like a more robust stack, instead of just static files, because that's the way the industry is going. So I feel like it's a good idea to learn that now. It's not too late to learn React. I mean, it's the most widely used JavaScript framework out there. So
Yeah. I saw, that meme where it's like that guy walking with the girl and then he turns around like with his glasses
yeah.
goes and he sees like the other girl walking by.
Yep.
I saw one where it was like that guy, like he was the developer and then he's holding hands with React
Hmm.
and then the girl walking away, which it just says any new JS library slash framework.
Yeah.
Because it's like, yeah, a lot of people, as soon as something new comes out,
Oh God.
like they push everything under the bus. Like
Hmm.
I don't know, jQuery is not the best example because it is a little older and not as like supported anymore. But
Right.
it does get a little too much crap because it is great and
It
it's
really
relevant
is.
still today. Like when I was job hunting, I had to use it in a job interview, and I was like, "Oh, do you guys use like old technology?" And he's like, "No, we're pretty up to date for sure. We're just we like to use jQuery. That's it."
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But yeah, like when Vue came out, everybody who was learning React was like, "Oh, get out of here! Like
Right.
let's go learn some Vue." So
Yeah. It can.
you got to not be too excited when something new comes out. Just like do what
Yeah.
is the most documented, has like obviously great docs, a great community to help in case you need to go and ask a question
Hmm.
or somebody else has already asked the question for you.
Right.
So um, yeah, that's my advice on that.
I think, yeah, that kind of reminds me when I was looking at the stacks. Like you covered Mean, Mern, and Mevin, and I looked at the serverless and Ruby on Rails. The one most interesting thing that I came across on Ruby on Rails is the fact that it's still very, like, the community is very active. I feel like, I mean, I still see job postings that list, seeking someone with experience on Ruby on Rails, but it's very cool to see that, despite it being around for a while, it's still, widely used, and the community is very active. It helps, keep it going. And, another benefit was strong adherence to standards. And I was like, wow, that sounds really nice, because, if like everybody's a is agrees across the board, that means that the standard for that stack, it's pretty like well maintained.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's it was I thought it was really interesting because it's still like a big community out there for that. So some of these never go fully obsolete. You know, it really depends on like what you're trying to do and which stack is best suitable for your organization. But there's so many options out there. And like you said, you know, there will always be new ones coming out, but you can kind of see those as like, you know, new flavor of the month. So maybe just pick one that you like, develop your skills and commit to it. And as long as, you know, like Victor said, it's well documented, well maintained, especially if it comes from like I was going to say a reputable company like Facebook. That doesn't sound right. But as long as it comes from like as long as it comes from like a big organization, a big company that is not going to drop React, you know, like anytime soon, you can count on it being constantly like revised and well maintained, and like, you know, if they'll keep evolving the framework. Because I think Angular isn't it by Twitter? Is Twitter Twitter is Bootstrap. Angular is Google, I think. You know, React is by Facebook, and then you have Vue now, which is another, you know, really well, I think mentioned.
Just made by some guy.
Some dude, yeah, some people in an org.
We might have a little episode on Vue because the story of Vue is fascinating to me. But
anyway. I think it's good to, you know, stick to one stack or framework and learn that well, and you know, feel comfortable enough that if you do go on an interview and they ask you about it, then, you know, you can like, you know how to hold your own, like hold your ground, and, you know, it's not going to be like, oh, I've never heard of it, but here I am applying for a job that requires me to do it 100% of the time. So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to take an example of Twitter, actually, since we were talking about it, and break it down as to how you might want to clone it.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's not really using a conveniently named stack, but that's just how it is sometimes. Like, it might not work for you, or you don't know one of the technologies too well. Do you just make your own, like we said before? So I'm going to break down how you might want to build a clone of Twitter, which this isn't how they built it at all. But, you know, you can get pretty darn close to doing it. So starting with the front end sort of aspect of it, you could use React.js because that would be handy for sure, since, like we mentioned before, lots of docs, lots of people to help you out. And it would be really convenient here, too, because we might want to reuse a lot of components, and components are just any class or function defined in the code. But in addition, the data flow would be one directional with React, so that would make the code much more stable than if you were to just like raw dog it and not use any library.
Raw dog it.
And then and Twitter has a lot of icons, like the hashtag and the little picture button for uploading a picture. All those icons, you could use Material UI to cover all the icons and designs that'll give everything that signature slick look to Twitter, Twitter clone. And you'd probably use some Flexbox as well, which is just a layout module that makes laying out, aligning, and distributing space among the items on the page much easier than if you were to do it the old school way. And then a big project like a Twitter clone, it would be really convenient to take advantage of like CSS3, CSS variables. So this would be super handy for a situation like this because it would allow you to reuse like a lot of specific values that come through the CSS document that you're building.
Yeah.
So let's say like your CSS document is like thousands of lines long, and you just finished like a huge portion of the project, and then you decide later on like, oh, I don't like that shade of blue. I found like a way better shade of blue that I want to use. Well, you know, there are a few different ways of easily changing all of it. But if you don't want to risk any sort of conflicts with anything else declared in your CSS document, you can just take advantage of CSS variables because that value of the blue was stored way before everything. So any instance of that variable throughout the document is going to take into effect the new shade of blue that you declared at the beginning of the document. So it just makes that sort of small change thing way less messy, because you could do like the little keyboard shortcut where you do like, what is it, like Control Shift H to like replace all instances of a word, something like that. I don't remember. I'd have to like do it on my keyboard to remember. You could do it that way, but that's where mistakes can be made in case like you type something wrong in one instance, but the variable is never going to be wrong because you already declared it before. So that would be really convenient. And then for more server-sidey sort of stuff, I would recommend Firebase. That's what I learned in the boot camp, and I like it. It's free and pretty simple to get going.
Yeah.
So you could use real-time Firebase or real-time Firestore database to store things like the comments and likes and retweets that you would utilize in developing your app. And then we could also use Firebase to actually deploy the project. So you would have a public link that all your friends can go on and use your fake Twitter.
Yeah.
And Twitter's cool because it has like cute little animations and stuff where you tweet and then like the box drops down really nicely and everything else moves down. You could use an NPM package like React Flip Move that would animate that specific component when you're posting a tweet and give the page this nice dynamic feel. So that's a quick overlook on how you might want to build a fake Twitter. But like I said, you can interchange anything you want based on your knowledge of one layer of the stack. So
right. Take notes, people, before we get a cease and desist.
Exactly.
No, yeah, that sounds like it would be a really cool idea.
Yeah.
I don't know if is there like a comparable site out there? Like, because Twitter is different than Facebook, but I don't know. Is there anything else like Twitter around? I'm not sure.
Kind of Reddit, kind of not.
Yeah. I feel like
Not really though.
yeah, like from what I came across with recreating
Dev,
Dev, yeah.
a little bit. It's not as like
Because I think that Dev is more about like posting articles, right?
Yeah. I was gonna say like with Twitter, it's like you only have a little bit of
200
space to
characters
say
or whatever.
something. Yeah.
Yeah. I think like Twitter, it's a company that has been around for, a good while now. I think I would say more than 10. Yeah, it's been around for more than 10 years. 10, 15 or whatever. But from what I came across when I was looking at, tech stacks for these giants, like Facebook, for instance, what I came across, and this might be, like a top level overview. Obviously, they use more stuff, but it said that they primarily use JavaScript, HTML, CSS, PHP, and React.js, which they are the developers of React. But for like Twitter, it was so hard to define like their stack,
There's a lot.
Yeah. But their like primary, I think, not disadvantage, but their primary challenge with Twitter is handling, the traffic and their transfer of data, because you might have huge spikes. I think I saw that back last year there was I think it was a movie or an episode of a cartoon that aired in Japan, and Twitter not broke, but it reached its like highest number of tweets per second, which was like around 21,000 tweets per second because of that that like launch or that episode that came out. So yeah, it just shows how they have, I think the numbers were like 350 million, approximately 350 million tweets or 350 billion 350 billion tweets per week or something crazy.
What?
Yeah. And I was like,
Yes.
no, I think it was actually 350 million a day. And then, just multiply that by like 7 or whatever. It was
Mm,
loosely around 6,000 tweets per second. But, that is just like an average. It can go down a bit, but it can also go up. So, I mean, the hits that they may get, like I can even imagine what they have to do on the back end to be able to handle that kind of demand. And like all the server work and considerations they have to take into account to be able to make sure that their site is not down, because I mean rarely do you see Twitter down. But these things like can happen. Just this week actually, I think there was a big CDN called Fastly that was down earlier in the week, and it
mhm,
brought down a whole bunch of sites that use the CDN because it's a content delivery network. So
mhm.
it affected like big sites, like throughout the web. So I don't know if it was just like slow or if it was an all out outage. But yeah, that I think that costs those companies like millions or billions depending on how long it's out for. So you know uh
It's insane.
yeah, it's so crazy because you think that let's say you're talking about Google, like if there's a bug in their like search engine, if there is a possibility that that happens 0.001% of the time, that's probably still going to affect like millions of people. Because if you think about how many Google searches are done, I mean, I probably use Google more than I use, I don't know, like everything else when I'm
Mhm.
sitting in front of my computer. I don't even think about going to Bing or whatever other search engines are out there.
You're not a
So
Bing person?
no,
I
unfortunately.
only use Bing.
I only use Bing, yeah. They should have picked a better name. I just made
Bing
fun of
it.
yeah, Bing it. But yeah, it's insane how these companies, like we interact with it so much that they have these kinds of obstacles to deal with, that yeah, even if it is an incredibly small percentage of the time that something may happen that can impede you from accessing one of their services, that small percentage could still mean millions of cases. So yeah, it's something to, I guess, just keep in mind. Like they are bigger than we think. I mean, go to google.com right now and it looks pretty simple, but it definitely is not.
Yeah.
A lot of man hours behind that, and
Oh, yeah.
brain power.
Yeah, that's something I definitely forget about all the time because it
Same.
is such a simple sounding thing. But
Right.
yeah, obviously probably in the trillions.
Yeah, by now.
Oh, yeah, of what they're worth, of course. Like they have the manpower and resources to make it as powerful and perfect as possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah, speaking of big companies, we can talk about WWDC
Ooh,
because
let's do it.
that was a few days ago.
Mm-hmm.
Super. I don't know. It was a lot of mixed emotions from what I saw from what other people were saying, and I
Yeah.
talked about it with a few other people at work, and they were like, "Yeah, like there's a lot of good stuff that they put out, but it seems like I won't be using any of it."
Yeah. I
Which a lot of it was geared towards people. Oops, sorry. A lot of it was geared towards for instance, like the health stuff, like that's geared towards people who have like some sort of health issues. And um, what was another thing? Oh, with like the fact that it can read text from pictures, like if
Oh
there's text
yeah.
in it. Yeah, like so a lot of accessibility
Right.
things added to it. So like that stuff is really really crazy and cool, and it's crazy that like it hasn't. I don't know. They do this thing where when they introduce the things, it's like, whoa, like why hasn't it been around this whole time? Like that's so
Mm-hmm.
smart. Like really good idea.
Right.
Um, Yeah, so I don't know. Did anything else really stand out to you? I can go through the list of things that was
I
covered too.
mean, I think that like these obviously like they're launching these things now because they're confident that it works, really
Mm,
well. And it's just like showing how, like neural networks, for instance, like they've probably been training these things for so long and monitoring to see if it really works. But I think it's just like it's probably just like a push that maybe the industry needs or whatever because obviously
mhm.
Apple is very much a trendsetter, so we can expect other companies to be doing similar things from now on. But I thought that it was pretty cool, what they showed, like
Yeah.
with yeah, like neural networks being able to identify like numbers from pictures. That's crazy. Like a phone number, you don't even have to write it down, you just like point your camera to the thing and it already knows.
Yeah.
um and also I think it was like in the iMessages, for iOS, that you could send like a little library of pictures or like a little album of pictures.
Yeah. That looked cool.
Yeah, there were some things that, because what happens is I've had an iPhone for a long time now, and I always forget some of the features that my phone has, and I feel like I never truly use it to its full
Yeah.
potential. But it should be cool to to try some of those things out and see if it's going to help like get things done faster. I mean, if you can have your phone do it for you with like I know that they said that for Mac OS, for instance, they're getting rid of Automator, and I was like, oh dear, what are you
I
doing?
know.
And I was like, okay, they have shortcuts, and I was like, but still not the same. I feel like they're I guess, yeah, they're gonna phase out Automator eventually, not now, but they're
Hmm.
trying to switch gears to shortcuts because it has this pretty UI, and they want to make sure that regular people know how to use it. So
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know, it's cool. It is what it is. You have to just roll with the punches. You have to adapt. They're not going to support every feature forever, but it's also, I don't know if I noticed anything that stood out for like iPad or whatever, but yeah, it was mainly, software related. So I think I definitely got like a couple of things. I think the the biggest thing for me was like, man, they can put on a show because that was so beautiful.
It, when Tim Cook throws the iPad,
Yeah.
or no,
Uh,
it wasn't Tim Cook. It was the other guy.
Yeah, I forget his name, but I was like, "Oh god, even that keynote though, like 4K
Yeah.
definition, Apple Campus, you can't
He
go
just
wrong with
jumps into
that,
a
man."
hole.
Yeah. I wanted to go out and buy a new iPhone right after that.
Well, that's their goal.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
oh, the other thing that blew my mind was that they're gonna make AirPods like basically hearing aids for people.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
I
Yeah.
thought that that was like, I don't know, like that was such a short thing, but I feel like that's so huge. Like you
Right.
can listen to people easier. Like that's awesome.
I know. Yeah, I think that
Um,
like you said, them branching out to I think sprucing up these accessibility features within their devices just shows that I think that they're trying to make a big push for the medical or like the health market, because they don't want to
hmm.
just be seen as a tech company that if you need a new phone, you get an iPhone. If you need a new laptop or iPad, but I think that they're trying to break that mold that they're just a tech company and go into like a tech, slash health and medical, and they might even go into the automobile industry. I mean, there's been so much talk that they're developing their own car, and like they have their own department that is doing research into develop self-driving cars. So I feel like yeah, they're exploring multiple verticals right now, and it's very interesting because yeah, they have the means to do so. So why not? But I mean, it's also cool like for people that have the needs for, like you said, a hearing aid, like if you can have an AirPod, that's pretty sweet. That's like really cool.
Way cheaper than a hearing aid, I think.
Yeah, probably.
But one thing that blows my mind that I just remembered is that they still haven't given us a timer for Mac OS.
No way. We don't have a
Yeah,
timer.
we still there's yeah. Am I crazy? There's no clock app on the Mac.
We have, I
I'm
mean, we
checking,
have the
double
clock.
checking right
Oh,
now.
like, just like we do on the iPhone, right? Because we have like the
Yeah, like a
stopwatch, the
stopwatch. Exactly. I had to yeah, because I had to get an app
hmm
that does the stopwatch for me.
right.
Like, where's the stopwatch?
That's crazy. Yeah, you would think that they would have that by now. Oh yeah, I did remember though. I think it was towards the beginning of the keynote that he showed. I forget the guy's name now. I don't know if it was Greg or what. And I was like, he was talking about the like seamless integration of devices. So you have like the extension of display. So like you can have an iPad,
Yeah.
a tiny MacBook, and a big iMac right next to you, and you can drag, things all across. And I was like, oh my God, that's cool. Because I mean, who even uses a single display nowadays? No one. People have like the huge like workstations, and you can never have enough. I mean, you can't have enough monitors, but you can never have enough screen space. So I thought it was a cool idea.
Oh, Craig. Yeah, that is his name.
Craig.
Federighi. I don't know how to say his last name. Not even gonna try.
Oh, so not Greg, Craig.
Craig.
Craig. Okay.
Wait, Craig? Yeah. That's right. Okay. Um, yeah, that kind of blows my mind. I don't know how that is gonna work. That's okay. So that's been around for a bit actually, but it's always been third party. Because I
Oh,
used to use
okay.
my iPad as a little monitor.
Yeah.
When I was in class, I would bring my iPad and my computer and just like use it as an external monitor. But it was like it was third party, so it was a little glitchy and slow, but it
hmm
like did the job.
Right.
So it is actually about time that they did that.
I know,
'Cause
right?
I'm sure it's gonna work way better. But um, isn't another big complaint that like you can't get Mac OS on the iPad?
Oh yeah, right.
Like what the heck? It has M1 and it has all this power, but like you can't.
Right. Yeah, I think I think I read a recent article that talked about how the iPad Pros, they are much more potent than the software that they have installed. So like the hardware is not in the same level. It's above the iPad
Yeah.
OS. So you're never truly unlocking the potential of the hardware because the software is holding you back. So I mean, an iPad Pro is the price of a MacBook Air, which is like $1,000. And that's probably like the base price. I think
hmm
like you can upgrade it, and it will cost you more, which probably means it might be more than a Mac. It might even get you into MacBook Pro 13-inch range at this point, because you can get those at base level for like 1,200, $1,300. And
Yeah.
I'm sure that you can, upgrade your iPad to make it cost as much. But yeah, with Apple, I don't know. I feel like, you know, there's so many things that they could be doing, but sometimes it feels like they are kind of like behind,
Sure.
comparing to like Samsung, or like even some like Google phones, what is it, Pixel? And yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see. I think that maybe with this like new processor, they might be going into like a new era, and their like
Yeah.
philosophy may change, because it's so clear that they're trying to develop like a full-on ecosystem. They want your house to be filled up with Apple devices
Yeah.
so they can all work together. So
hmm
it's like an Internet of Things.
Your
Um,
health,
yes, your health, your
work.
house automation. I mean, they had one, didn't they? Didn't they show like a
Yeah.
automation for your house? Yeah. So, everything. I'm sure like they're just betting so hard that because they already have a well-known name and people love their high-end, design and devices and all that stuff. Um that they're gonna like people are gonna build the houses around Apple devices where that's all you have.
Or
um
better yet, they're gonna start building houses.
Probably.
They're
Yeah.
gonna they're gonna release Apple coat hangers at
uh,
next year's event.
yes, can you imagine? Oh my gosh. uh yeah, like your own smart crock pot or whatever the hell. Like
Apple pot.
Apple pot, yeah, Apple
Yeah,
fridge.
cooking ware, exactly. They're gonna have
Right.
everything.
Yeah, it's
I remember like when they did the watch, it was like, whoa, they're branching out. Like this is crazy. And
mm,
now it's like, okay, now we have AirTags and we have home devices, like you mentioned. Yeah,
mhm.
it's I guess with like the oversaturation of them branching out so much, it's like almost less surprising each time.
Right. It
And we were
is.
expecting more. So that's probably the weird feeling that a lot of people have with Apple right now.
Yeah.
So I don't know,
Yeah.
maybe doing too much.
That's true. And I also think that they're aware that they're an incredibly successful company. But that wasn't the case like 25, 30 years ago, So I think like what turned the page for them was probably the iPod. Then came, like the MacBook laptops, and then obviously like the iPhone. Like that's what has made Apple so much money. I mean, they keep breaking records. Like they don't even release the number of phones they sell in a year anymore because they're constantly selling more and more.
Yeah.
So they I think that they know though that just like putting all your eggs in one basket and having like your iPhone is, what's carrying your company to the next like 5 to 10 years is just
Hmm.
not sustainable. So they're probably trying to explore other areas, of the business that they might be able to make more money in and see what sticks, because they can simply just say, no, we're discontinuing this product line and that's it.
Hmm.
But obviously for Apple to release a new product, there's so much money that goes into marketing, R&D, and like it costs a lot of money to launch a new product, but they have plenty. It's the most valuable company in the world, I think, right now.
Yeah.
So,
I, I think also ethically at the same time, it's the idea that they do want to keep, you know, this flow going of introducing like technology that they've never touched before.
yeah.
I think a lot of that is also just that like they want to expand and like hire more people and get more people employed, and I think
Hmm.
that's kind of great. But the flip side of it is that when they do discontinue products and they can't transfer people to new departments, they have to let them go, which is really
Right.
sad. It's
Yeah.
like it's like with a TV show when you like kind of want it to end because it's been going on for too long, but then on the other side of it, you would feel bad if you think about it, because then like all these people who are working so hard to make it happen are like out of a job until they find a new show to work on. So it's
Hmm.
like it's tricky with that. I feel like that's kind of what happened with like Game of Thrones,
Oh, yeah. Right.
you know.
Well, aren't
But
they?
you just don't want it to go too long because you want to satisfy yourself as the person watching. But yeah,
Right.
there's just a lot that's deeper going on.
Oh yeah, and ultimately they're a business, they're in the business of making money.
Yeah.
Like they want to keep people employed because they know that, their workforce is what is the creative part, like these ideas are not coming from a computer. It's people thinking this, which is quite amazing if you think about it. So they have very talented people working for them, but yeah, those people are going to stay there as long as they're, productive and those products sell because like, iPods, I mean, I don't even know. I think that they're still sold, but I don't even know if people buy them. Yeah, it's kind of like a flap. Not it. The iPhone is a flagship product, but the iPod is kind of like, oh yeah, it was huge back in the day, but
Oh yeah.
and yeah, I heard that they're going to phase out iTunes as well, which iTunes used to be pretty big. So it's no longer going to be a thing, and I wonder what they're going to be releasing in place of that. But it's yeah, I guess I don't know, the next 5 to 10 years will be interesting to see. Because I think that
Hmm.
they're trying to also like break away from that predictability, like, oh yeah, you have your event every like spring, summer, fall. A new phone comes out in the fall, a new computer comes out at the end of the year. It's kind of like, okay, yeah, we already know what you're doing, Apple. Like, what else do you got? You're a multi-trillion dollar company. Surprise us, for God's sake. But yeah, it's interesting to see every now and then.
Yeah. Well, if any of you are in Prague, I would recommend checking out the Apple Museum. It's pretty cool. You get to
Ooh.
see all of the iPods and iPhones and iMacs and the history of it all. It's really cool to see. Uh, I just remembered that I went there. I was like, "Whoa, this is so random. Like, why are you in this
In Prague.
old town?"
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah, it was
I
weird.
didn't even know that.
Yeah, it was. I don't know if it's like I don't know how common Apple museums are, but it's
Right.
like the only one I've ever seen. Just happened upon it. It was next to like some jazz club and an absinthe bar. I was like, okay, let's check it out. And it was huge. It was like down, like underground. It went
Oh,
like multiple stories. It was an experience. It was really, really cool.
that's awesome. Yeah, I remember when I think the first time I went to New York City, I went to the Apple store by Central Park. I forget like
Oh
which
yeah,
Ave that one was at, but it's like the glass dome and then you go
yeah.
underground. That was so cool. I was like, oh wow, yeah, this is neat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's always, like kind of like nice going to the store. It's like, an experience a little bit in itself.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Enough Apple. Do you have anything to recommend?
It's sitting behind me. I don't know if you could see this monster of a console because it looks smaller on the screen, but like this is my head
It's
for
huge, huh?
comparison. It's okay. You guys don't know. It's the PS5. It's massive.
Woo!
So far, so good.
Yeah,
I'm really, really digging it. The controller is the reason this thing is next gen. Like,
really.
sure, graphics are cool. It runs fast. There's like no load time when you're like cold starting a game. You can switch between games pretty quickly. It's really
Mhm.
great. But the controller is seriously what makes this thing so next level.
Oh, wow.
It I don't really know how to explain everything, but the vibrations are just more precise and they can make it feel like there's little like marbles in the controller and you like have motion sensor, you can like feel them moving around. It like
Wow.
feels like they're actually in there. And the triggers have like you can like the developers, they can add in tension. So like
Mm.
if you're shooting a gun, like they can make it feel like you're actually pulling on a trigger.
No way.
And let's see what else. Oh, there's a microphone on there. So like sometimes you have to like blow to like make something happen on the screen. So you blow on the controller, and there's a speaker on it. So like extra little sounds like the car revving or like um I don't know, like just smaller little noises they want to add in. They'll make it go through the remote instead
Yeah.
of the TV, so it feels like it's right in front of you.
Oh my
And
gosh. You're really selling
uh,
it.
yeah, it's so fun.
What are
Like
you
Dylan.
playing?
Oh, well, right now I'm playing Spider-Man, I'm playing Watch Dogs Legion, I'm playing Skater XL. Um, I pre-ordered the Ratchet and Clank game about a week ago, so that should be here in a couple weeks. Or actually, yeah, a week and a half. So I'm really, really excited to play that because I played Ratchet and Clank growing up.
Hmm.
But I was just gonna say, the game that comes with the console, it's called not Astro World. What is it called? Astro's Playground, I think,
Uh,
and it just ships with the console. And basically, the whole idea is that it's like a Mario-like game, but you're a little Wally-looking character, and you just kind of jump around, get coins
yeah.
and stuff. But this game is such a big flex on the capabilities of the controller. That's like what shows you like the potential that these gaming developers have when they're making games. They can just add in this crazy functionality to the controller and bring the game out of the TV. It's
Wow.
crazy.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. Dylan had a fun time playing it,
Hmm.
playing Astro's Playground. It was I played a little bit of it. It's really cool. I'm probably gonna play the whole thing eventually, but
Yeah.
I'm having fun with my game.
Hey,
Uh,
that's
so
awesome.
I guess I can't really recommend a PS5 though, because it's really hard to get one. But if you do want one, I recommend following a bunch of Twitter accounts that and turning on the notifications because they'll tell you when things are in stock.
Hmm.
And you just like act as fast as you can, click on the link to Amazon or Best Buy or Walmart or wherever it's in restock and just buy it immediately. That's what I did. I also watched some bots that just check stock as well
Hmm.
on YouTube. That was another thing. And that's all the advice I have because I think plenty of people have been trying to get one for 6 months this way and still haven't gotten one. I was in it for merely 2-3 weeks and I got one, so I think I got really lucky. But yeah, if you can, go get a PS5, I guess.
Well put. I
Yeah.
think though I have two recommendations, or actually three. So
Okay.
yesterday I think I quit my Firefox app, and then when it like started back up, I noticed an update, and now I love it. I think it looks so nice. I use
Oh.
Firefox, so it's I thought that it was a nice upgrade in the UI. And it was cool because the first time I launched it, it even asked, okay, which theme do you want to go with? So you can change like the theme that you want it to be in the background. Obviously, like pages are still like the background is still white with like black font, but like the toolbar and everything at the top, I prefer to leave it black. I've been using the dark theme for a while across I think most of my apps and everything in my operating system.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, check
All
that
right.
out if you like Firefox. The next thing I had was okay, so I used to go to meetups here in Orlando, and I got met this guy who's a fellow Brazilian, and he recommended a site just yesterday that was built using Dracula UI. And Dracula UI is like a front end library, I believe. Let me pull it up. I want to make sure that. Let's see here. Dracula UI makes it easy to create beautiful dark apps using plain HTML or React components. So yeah, I mean, go to their website, draculatheme.com, and you can see how their website looks so nice. I think that I'm going to use this to rebuild my portfolio when I finally get to it,
Ooh.
but it's beautiful. And because I am a sucker for dark themes and like the gradient
Mm.
colors, like in orange or blue or purple, just makes it so nice. So shout out to the guys that developed the Dracula UI. Check them out. And then yeah, because we were talking about IDEs earlier, with JetBrains being the developer of Kotlin and the whole suite of IDEs. I wanted to point out that JetBrains provides a free annual license for their IDEs for students. So if you want to check it out, you can get it for free because obviously, it's a paid service, but you can provide, I think they verify with your school email. So if you're an active student, you can go to their website and sign up. So you have access to all of their apps. Like if you
Mm-hmm.
use Java, you can use IntelliJ, PyCharm for Python, CLion for C languages. So yeah, check it out. It's very cool, and I've used it, for the past couple of years, and it's been free. We love free
Wow.
stuff.
Yeah, we do. in this economy.
I know, right? Yeah, man.
I'm surprised you didn't recommend something else, which maybe we'll talk off air about, and you can recommend it next week, so you have something else on the list.
Oh, is it the banners?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I actually had it on my list. I wasn't sure if it was just getting to be overkill with all the Rex, but yeah. So I came across. I have been wanting to do banners, or like spruce up the README files on my GitHub repository, because I had seen that in certain projects that I've ran, like when you do like your npm install or whatever, and the code starts to like run, it starts to install the package or whatever, and then you get to like some of those have like this nice text that shows like the name of the package or whatever. And I was like, oh my gosh, how do I do that on my programs? And I found out that it's as simple as having an ASCII based, banner. So there's a website called manytools.org, and you can create ASCII text banners. So you basically type like your word like in the field. I'll give Victor the link so that he can put in the show notes, but and then you can pick what type of font you want it to be in, and there you go. Like you can just copy that, drop it into your code as a string, so it will, like when you run your code, it will show in your terminal, or you can drop it in like a triple backticks in your README file in your GitHub repository, and it will show there as well. And it's so neat. Like it just adds a little something to your repository, and yeah, it's pretty cool. If you're using Python, you can also change the colors of those using a Colorama module. Yeah, so look up Colorama. It's available for Python, and you can change like the color of your text, so you can make your banner nice and pretty. It's very cool. Yeah, I've been.
Wait, did you say it's called Manytools?
Yeah, manytools.org.
Okay, got it. I wonder if they have one for like a loading bar that you can put in the terminal, because I've tried to do it by hand to like have a cute little loading thing, but I've been super unsuccessful in making it actually look cool.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's one like that on there.
I wonder. Well, the thing is, like for this one at least, you have to like type the text, so for like a little buffering symbol, I don't know how that would work. I mean, there might be something out there, but yeah. It's I don't know. It's pretty cool. I added it to some of my private and public, Git repositories, so you can look me up and check them out as well. But yeah, I thought that it was, something super easy to do, because I thought it was going to be complicated. I was like, oh my gosh, but the ones that I've seen, they're all with like, either they're like done with either the underscore symbol or the pipe symbol. And I was like, I am not about to type that whole thing, by hand. Yeah. There has to be a better way. And then I was like, oh, okay, you can create an ASCII banner. Okay. Yeah, so
yeah, that's cool when you sent that over. It was really pretty. I'm definitely going to use it in future projects.
Yeah, do it. It just adds a little something.
All right. Any last words then?
No, I think we covered enough, huh?
Hope so. Hope this was a good one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that being said, I guess Tech Heads is out. Have an awesome week, and peace.
See you later.